Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Xavier right here next to me. We're very excited to have you with us this chilly morning in Charlottesville. We're going to have a fantastic show lined up for you today. We have our Latina Roundtable today, so we're going to be joined in a few minutes by Chris Martin, the owner of BakerNoBakery, by Lizmarie Zambrana, the owner of Healing Moon Company, and by Carolina Medina, the Director of Lending and Operations at the Community Investment Collaborative, also known as CIC, here in Charlottesville. Because we have there's
a lot of energy.
There's a lot of energy
I don't even know
on this
we
set
can
today.
Control this, but we'll
well,
try.
we don't have to. We don't have to. That's the fun part.
Yeah, but we got to talk for 15
what
minutes.
we want.
So we got to say something.
I mean, you don't have to say something. Exactly. I mean, and we're really just here today. I mean, the goal of the Latina Roundtable is just to celebrate Latina entrepreneurship, to talk a little bit about it, to let people know just all the amazing things that Latinos are doing. And I mean, Latinos, we've had a great week.
We have.
As Latinos, I mean, for the first time ever, a Latino is going to hold a statewide office in Virginia, because the incoming Attorney General, Jason Miyares, is Cubano. So we're going to have a Latino for the first ever time holding statewide office in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So we are making waves. Latinos are making waves, and Latinas are making waves on the entrepreneurship side and on the professional side.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to say was, obviously also the Lieutenant Governor, which is the
first ever African American woman, or black woman. She's from Jamaica originally, immigrant.
And the interesting thing is that they have great stories, right? So she came from. Thank you.
Just remember to lean
exactly. So she came from Jamaica when she was 6 years old, right?
So
and exactly,
story.
and her story is fantastic because she lived in the Bronx, and the Bronx, I know the Bronx because I lived in New York, and I had when I worked at a bookstore in New York, one of the people there was from the Bronx, and every once in a blue moon, if we worked late, I had a car, and so I would take him to the Bronx, and believe me, it was one of those situations you would drop them off really quickly and get out, right? So she went through that. And I heard her speaking yesterday, and you can see the passion in what she does. You can see how she worked hard to get where she was. And then we have on the other side, Jason Miyares, which his mother came here also when I think it was 1956. I read, and so she was Cuban, and she came here. Obviously, for the same reasons a lot of Cubans came here, right, to leave a communist situation. And she had 3 sons. And so, again, it's a great story, both of which, are pro-business, right? And that's what I really, really like about these two particular individuals, is that they're for pro-business, they're for law and order. And we have 3 people here with us, right? 2 which own their own business. The third one who works with small businesses, right? And you and I have always talked about this. The small business in this country is the backbone of the economy, right? And I know you have some stats. I know I have some stats about how many small businesses Latinos are creating. Mm-hmm. And I think I had read that over a 10-year period, Latinos created 3.3% or 3.3. I forgot. Let me read it.
I've got it here.
You got that one?
No, we have some awesome statistics here on Latino small business owners, because it's true. I mean, first off, small business is the backbone of the economy, and Latinos are increasingly becoming the backbone of small business, because just as a quick thing, like pre-pandemic, 400,000 Latino-owned businesses in the U.S. with at least one employee. So this isn't even counting the Latino businesses that don't technically have an employee, where you're just working yourself, right? But 400,000 Latino-owned businesses with at least one employee generated $500 billion in revenues. Wow. And employed 3.4 million people. And in the recession, so from 2007 to 2012, so in the middle of that recession there, Latino-owned businesses actually increased by 3.3%. So all the other businesses in the country, small businesses, they were actually 3.7% less.
Right.
So all the other businesses in the country went down, and Latino small businesses actually increased in the middle of the recession. So Latinos are becoming increasingly a major factor in small business, and that's what we're really here to talk a lot about today.
Yeah, and this article also mentioned the fact that, during this pandemic, right, there was, the Latino community really got hurt a lot, right? Mm-hmm. But coming out of it, they expect that the Latino community will be
drive our way
will drive our way out of this. And again, I think we're already seeing that in the people we have here and in what we're seeing across not just Charlottesville but Virginia and around the country. And we have good friends also in Texas and San Antonio and that area also they're booming. They're booming because I think the spirit, the desire to achieve something, and if I would say the difference between working for a company and working for your own company is that when you work for a company and you work overtime, you work hard, sometimes what happens is the results aren't there for you. It's like, okay, I did all that, but I just don't see, I don't see myself and my whole family improving under that situation. When you work for yourself, sometimes you'll have to work twice as hard. And, we talked about this the other day about every time there's a little problem, it's like, okay, we have to deal with it, right? We can't just say, let HR do this or, let the IT people do it. We have to do it, right? Exactly. But you work so hard for it. But at the end, when you see the results, right, you say, okay, you feel good about yourself. And again, the passion that small business people have to achieve something, to be of service, it is unparalleled.
It's unmatched. And some of our sponsors are even also Latino small businesses as well, because we're presented, as always, by Emergent Financial Services, but we're also powered by GBS Financial Services, Johan Torres.
That's right.
Great asset here to the Latino community, works with them on just anything from your taxes, business licensing, any questions you might have, and as well, of course, Cristel Noel State Farm Agency, one of the fastest growing agencies in the country, Latina,
incredible.
and she was featured nationally last week.
That's right.
By State Farm just for her being a Latina entrepreneur. So that's just goes to show you just the amazing waves that are happening with Latino entrepreneurship. And so I figure we'll just jump right in it.
We might as well, because they're jumping off their seats here. I see.
We're ready. They are all ready to go. So we have with us for our Latina roundtable for today, we have right here to Xavier's left, we've got Chris Martin. She's the owner of BakerNoBakery. You can find her on Instagram. Lots of followers. You can also find her at markets, pop-up shops. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We've got Lizmarie Zambrana. She's the owner of Healing Moon Company here in Charlottesville. Also, you can find her at City Market. And we have Carolina Medina. She is the director of lending, the director of lending and operations at CIC, the Community Investment Collaborative nonprofit here, helping small business owners, either entrepreneurs who want to be small business owners or current small businesses with access to capital, 16-week workshop classes, financial management, mentorship, so many things that Catalina is involved in as a Latina professional. So
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Such an honor.
Thank you all for joining us.
Well deserved.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome to have you all on. So definitely wanted to at least start for the guests who haven't watched some of our previous shows. Shame on you if you haven't gone and checked out those episodes. But just a little intro. So tell us, we can run down, tell us a little bit about yourselves, either your business or what you, or your line of work.
Cool.
Chris, go for it. You can
I'll go
start.
for it. I'm Chris. I operate a pop-up bake shop that focuses a lot on locality. I like to go with Americana and diversity as like one of my focuses, taking American techniques and then applying a lot of diverse flavors to them.
That's awesome. Yeah. Lizmarie, go for it.
I'm Lizmarie Zambrana. I'm naturally from Puerto Rico. I own a small business called Healing Moon Co. Make sterling silver jewelry with natural stones. And you can find me online or in the market at the CVille City Market every Saturday from 8 to 1.
There we go.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Carolina, and I work for a Community Investment Collaborative. My previous position with the organization was operations coordinator, and recently moved to being the director of lending and operations. Such a big honor and big title. I'm continue to be working with business owners and entrepreneurs, just in a different capacity. But I'm just excited to be here, and I am originally from Mexico City, and such an honor to be with these two wonderful women here who are entrepreneurs themselves.
An honor for us too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome.
3 nationalities too, right?
Three nationalities: Nicaragua,
Puerto
Rico,
and Mexico.
Mexico. Eat Cuba.
Cuba.
Eat Cuba. Eat Cuba. And we also have Johnny Ornelas is watching, another Latino entrepreneur. He says, Buenos dias, chitos. Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
Thank you for watching. He owns both Guadalajara out there as well as El Mariachi.
Oh, and
El
Orange,
Mariachi and
right?
Zion
And
Crossroads.
Oh, yes, great.
Yes, El
Yeah,
Mariachi.
yeah.
So
Please.
first thing I wanted to start with, of course, so one of the major stats that we have is that the number one group most likely to start a new business in this country is Latinas.
Oh, cool.
Latinas, even slightly
even
higher than
better, even
Latinos in general, but Latinas. So when I say that, what's your reaction? What do you guys think about?
I feel really proud. I didn't know. I knew Latinos, like the whole Latinos, but Latinas specifically, that made me more proud because normally women, they're not like recognized like we wanted to. So yeah, very proud.
Yeah, I mean, just the wow factor there because, you know, I would think it was more the men, you know, Latino men, but I mean, maybe rethinking that
way we think
because
about it.
we as women we're leaders in our families, and
That's right.
when you cannot find a job that either doesn't pay well and you have a family to support, then you go and you start your own thing, right? So I mean that makes sense. It's just that I was more under the impression that usually Latino men, right, are the ones that sort of take the lead, but I'm glad to be wrong in that case.
Exactly. No, it is. It's amazing, and I think it's twice as likely. So Latinas start twice as many times as women from all other groups combined.
Wow.
Wow.
And that's the incredible part to me, honestly. That statistic is amazing.
It is. So how do you think? I mean, when you think about that, why do you think that might be? Like, what do you think? As being Latina professionals, and Carolina, obviously, we have two entrepreneurs, and you've also worked with a lot of Latina entrepreneurs. What are you seeing in terms of where sort of Latinas get this drive to be able to do this?
The women in my family have always been really self-starting. Like, my grandma was in Nicaragua, and she was, like, selling tripe soup and all this other stuff. And it's, you know, that energy and that dynamic push definitely comes from the women in my family, for sure. So it's gratifying. It's nice.
Yeah, I think that in the Hispanic community, not saying anything bad against the man, but I always think that the Hispanic woman is the one that always kind of the leader, but she's always backdoor, like backstage, like she runs the show, let's say, but because it's a men's world, so we at least in years ago we were not allowed to be businesswomen, have our own businesses. It was all man. The person who provide for the family will be man. So now we're in 2021. Hello.
It's different.
Like it's a lot different. Now we have opportunities. There are more opportunities for us to go to the world and show what we can do, not just do it in our house, not just for our family. Now we can share with the world and the community.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where part of the beauty is, I think, running the household is in many ways an economy of its own. Yeah. Like the talents that the Latina would have running a household. I mean, you're managing money. You're figuring out what's the budget of the household. You're buying what you need, right? A lot of times you're selling things you need. You're selling the tripe soup, which is fantastic.
We're taught since we are born.
Exactly.
So we already know how to run a business. It's just that we never had the opportunity.
It's just the business, and it's kind of a shame that the business was the home, and given the way economic numbers work, it never shows up. GDP doesn't count
Exactly.
the value of someone running a home.
Definitely. You know, the culture, just our culture, how we are raised and how those dynamics of, you know, being at home. And I think it's so interesting that you say the Latina woman has to figure out how to make that, income last, right? For how many kids you have to feed, what things the home needs. You have to very, particularly figure out how you're going to make that money work for a month or a week or whatever it is. So I think, we have those skills just because of our culture and how we grow up and the difficulties that sometimes we grow up with, right? And they just push us and force us to develop these skills. And then it's just a matter of applying them to a business and to another thing that we really enjoy, making sure, it leaves us some gains.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and the other thing I wanted to say was, you're talking about budgeting, which is critical, right? But I also get the feeling that women in general are more risk takers, right? And so in the past, it just kind of pushed the husband to take the risk. Go ahead, go for it, try it. And I think what we're finding out today is that that's not necessary. In other words, they don't have to push the husband, as I can take that step now myself. And so maybe in the Latino community where certainly the female is a very powerful part of the family, she's taking the step and saying, I too can now run a business. And we're seeing it across the board. It's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, I think as how she was saying, when the time changes, you decide to just go for it. You don't really need to depend anymore on from your partner, or you decide to take your own decisions.
Exactly. We already have the skills. We just need a different scenario.
A new way to demonstrate those skills.
Exactly.
In the world. Man, we got a lot of, you three are getting a lot of props already. Harvey mayorga, Guajiros is saying buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias, Harvey. We've got a bunch here. Who else we have? We got Marie Zambrana.
That's our daughter.
So proud of you ladies. Carolina Galledo Obando, she was on our show last week from Carolina Obando Beauty. Is saying, love Latina entrepreneurs, such empowering. She's saying congratulations to Carolina Medina is amazing.
Thank you. I know Carolina.
Oh, you know her, okay.
Yeah. We worked together for a few months. Yes.
Lots of props coming in. So speaking of overcoming, obviously there's the Latino story being a lot of us immigrants or the children of immigrants. We've definitely overcome some adversity to sort of get where we are, sometimes it's language barrier, but sometimes it's just navigating a new culture, navigating places where we're like, oh, you have the banking system? I'm trying to Cuba, the banking system's not so great. Do I even trust banks? And you have to come to America and be like, yeah, okay, I have to have a bank account. I have to be willing to go get loans or to try to get some access to capital. So what are some of the challenges that either you've overcome or you've seen Latinas overcoming to sort of get that onto that successful business track?
Well,
I
was born as an American citizen, everybody who was born in Puerto Rico. So we don't face the same challenges that other countries face. But I would say, when starting a business, for example, or going to college, even though we are American citizens, they still see us as a minority. So we don't get exactly the same advantage as born in the States, even though we are Americans. So we're not supposed to have the same challenges, but we do as Hispanics. So some will be I went to college in Puerto Rico, so I didn't have here that problem. But for example, our kids, they went to school here. We had to figure out how to pay for her college for her daughter. Our son is in the military, so she didn't get any help at all because of my husband's income. So it's okay, even though we're minority, but we don't get that help. So everything is being through student loans. So that's one thing. And then me starting a business, a small business, I had to start with debts, like everybody.
Yep.
I don't have a rich family. I don't have anybody that can loan me some money to start my business. I had to start with debts, like everybody else. So I wish that there were more ways how to help small businesses, especially minority, like Hispanics, an easier way to get those helps.
Exactly.
That's something
Which we kind of have one. I
And
mean,
I'm so happy to have her here today because
we kind of had one.
she can help us with that.
Carolina, is that something you see a lot, like that Latinos, Hispanics will come in and be saying, you know what, it's true, when you come from that immigrant, either first or second generation, like there's no one backing you. There's no someone who's been here for the generation upon generation saying, yeah, this is how things work. Here's a little trust fund that you can start your business with. Do you find a lot of Latinos that will come in and say, hey, what is the way that I start?
Absolutely, yes. I have had assisted Latino clients with just understanding the paperwork that is needed to start the business. You know, in our countries, you don't need a business license. You don't need the this and that, other requirements. And here you need that to be able to operate legally. So just as minor as that of how do I get a business license with the county, right? And then how do I register to form an LLC from the structure of my business? So things like that are, essential for a business here. It's I think our community sometimes lacks that understanding because we come from that system that it doesn't require that, right? So, and in financing as well, when it comes to, well, I really want to start this, but how do I even, right? How do I even start when I don't have an initial, push to it? And I mean, we tell them about the financing options that we have. However, there is, sometimes we have two ways how entrepreneurs could qualify for our program for financing. And unfortunately, our Latino community doesn't meet either of those. They can, but the ones that I've assisted, they haven't been able to meet those requirements. So, one of those requirements is being part of the CIC workshop. And I mean, it's our signature program at CIC. And it's such a great resource because it teaches you so well how to establish your business, how to from your idea, if you already have an existing business too, it works really well because we help you grow. So it's one of those resources that it's huge, I think. And the workshop is not in Spanish, unfortunately, but I'm always available for any assistance that might come up. So for those that are listening that would be interested in the workshop, I encourage you to give it a try. Really, if you feel comfortable understanding English, and there has to be some participation in English too. But if it's limited, it's fine as long as you feel comfortable understanding the content. And I'm always available for any extra assistance needed. But yeah, that's. I'm giving here a shout out to CIC, of course, and promoting our programs, but it's huge, and it's one of those things that can teach you so much on how to run your business, and also connect you to resources like financing or mentors or just a better understanding of how you can network and promote your business. Yeah, but absolutely, Alex. I work with Latino clients that from those very beginnings of how do I even get a license. Yeah,
and that's terrific because that's very important. I remember the one time that I participated, not in the program, but I was just in one of the roundtables. What I realized is that when people come to your program, there's one of two sides of the brain that really work very well, right? Either the very creative side, the marketing side, they're ready to go. But on the budgeting side, they have no clue really how to run a business. So that area is where you reinforce. And there's some others that have it all laid out. They know exactly how much it's going to cost them, how much they're going to make, but they have no idea how to sell it, right? And if you can't sell it, those numbers aren't really going to come out.
Exactly.
And I think that's the beauty of it is that in that program, right, you are basically, you're almost forced to begin to think about both sides. In other words, well, how are you going to sell this? How are you going to market this? And the program helps in that way because you're right on, right? The ability to network. How do you network? How do you meet people? And the fact that you can now meet people that may say, if you do this way, you can then market to these folks. Or if you change your label or change your name, you might be able to get this side of the business. And I just think it's terrific. And as I mentioned, with small businesses, there's a risk, right? right? I mean, when you start your business, and you just mentioned, Lizmarie just mentioned, there's a ton of debt sometimes that go into creating a business. And now you have that debt hanging over yourself, and you say, I need to sell. I need to make this business work. And it doesn't always work, right? I mean, I think who was it? Edison that said, how
1,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you fail, you get up and you do it again, and you do it the right way. So, kudos to the program, to CIC. But the other thing I want to mention was, obviously, I came from Cuba, right? So I always think of, to start a business in Cuba, the chances of an entrepreneur starting a business in Cuba is as close to zero as you can get, right? As close as the interest rates we're getting today, right?
Right.
But at least here why do so many people want to come to this country? And I think part of it is, yes, there's challenges for immigrants, and I think every country has their challenges, right, with immigrants. But the opportunity that I think you find in this country to really create your own business is amazing, right?
Yeah.
And I think, you guys are proof of that to a certain respect, right?
Yeah, I think it's, an incredible opportunity to start a business, but there's so many paywalls in that whole situation. So with mine, bootstrapping it from with food, you can start selling stuff out of your house, and then which is how I started, and then you just continue to ramp up, acquire more equipment as you make more sales, etc. And it's doable. But I was able to attend Johnson & Wales for an entrepreneurship degree, and that was an incredible experience. But a lot of people don't have access to information, which programs like that are incredibly useful for. But a big initiative that's happening in the underground food world is the sharing of that information, of giving people access to these Excel documents for free, just because,
No, it's amazing.
how much, you can attend a class and take a lot of time, which will be an incredible use of that time. But if you're able to get access to a document immediately that you could apply to your business the next day at the market, and you'll be able to like Jennifer Skim, she just dropped a basic profit and loss spreadsheet on her Instagram, and it's you can apply that almost instantly to your business and have a better understanding right from that moment. But typically you'd have to go work in a restaurant to gain access to a template like that, or reach a certain level. And I think that's a really important part of what's going on in the food world right now, at least.
Absolutely. And it's funny, I think one of the testaments also to, obviously Latinas, but also the Latino community as a whole, is there is that sort of sense of community and sense of helping. I mean, Johnny Ornelas is a great example. He was commenting that when he moved from LA to Charlottesville back in '88, my mother was a big influence to moving cross country to form a new business and taking the risk. And so there is that sense of community where people support each other, that you want other people to be. There's no sense of competition, if Lizmarie is successful, that means she's taking business away from me. No, it doesn't work that way. All of us being successful makes us all even more successful. It just keeps spreading and growing in that way. So it's a beautiful aspect. And Lucrecia Morales is commenting, excelente programa, saludos, Lucrecia from Sombreros. Another Latina entrepreneur. Another Latina entrepreneur here.
Yes.
Well, that's a partnership.
That's a partnership. Okay, yes.
But that's a little something to do with it.
That is true.
Actually, I wanted to ask you a question because, the marketing world has changed from when I was, growing up to what it is today. So could you give us an idea as to how important things like, Facebook, Instagram, and all these other things out there are to your business?
Well, in my case, it's very important because all my sales are online.
Okay.
I just have the website, and when I go to the market, so that will be something. That's something that you're learning all the time, something new, because they're always changing everything. And when you think you're on the top of everything, something new comes out, and you're behind. But yeah, it's very important because a lot of people nowadays, that's what they follow. They look on social media. Every time somebody wants to do something let's say, what I'm gonna wear today, they go to Pinterest to check an outfit.
Wow.
This will be cool. Okay, and then from there they get the idea. and it's very important, at least for artisans of all type, the social media, because of that, because people are always looking for new things. What's trendy? What's people using? What's people looking for? And it's very important.
And the scariest thing is the recent instability in social media. Like when Instagram went down for like 5 hours, what flashed through my mind was like not like my obvious addiction to the internet, but like really like, how am I going to be able to reach these people? How am I able to post a menu, actually get words out? And so like the biggest thing I think for entrepreneurs across the board is like advice that I got from somebody posting a meme after this whole debacle was like build your email list. And so that's what I've been working on recently because it's like, how are you going to reach these customers if the internet goes down and one hacker gets in, you're done. Like
is the fastest way to reach people.
Right.
So basically what you're saying is, well, because it wasn't so much the internet went down, it was that Facebook went down, and when Facebook, obviously Instagram went down. So what you're saying is you now need to have a backup, and the backup is the old-fashioned email.
The old-fashioned email.
Which
It's
used to
really
be,
funny.
That's right.
Yes.
Interesting.
It's like when having you have all your phone numbers. Do you remember your own phone number now? No, probably not.
I remember my cell number. That's the only one.
Your wife, your kids, no.
I don't remember
probably
my wife's name. No, I don't.
Because they're all here. That's why I believe on having it in a notebook, like have it written down somewhere. At least the most important for emergencies.
No, it's true. It's true. When I first started to work, right, we still had the little push buttons, and I literally would, I used to work with broker dealers to buy and sell bonds. I knew everybody's number, right? Today, I know nobody's number. I just trust that this thing.
Trust that it's gonna work, right?
This is our brain. This is our memory now.
Absolutely. Yes,
Right.
It's amazing. It's true.
Right.
We don't use our brains as much anymore in that sense, in the memory sense.
I just wanted to mention too that with the entrepreneurs that we work, yes, marketing is essential. It takes a lot of time. Marketing, like on social media, marketing takes so much time. So getting a good understanding of it and getting on a schedule, it's really important because it saves you a lot of time in creating that content. I just see such a struggle, and especially if you're not, techie with that or like into social media. Like I would struggle so much with social media, but luckily I don't have to do it. But yes, it's a lot. Like a lot of people are hiring young folks that know how to do social media stuff to create content and post for them, because it just is so, for a business owner, a small business owner, it just takes so much time to actually do it. But I mean, it's valuable. It's your marketing is where people follow you on Instagram and they're like, I'm gonna go buy that specifically. So it does generate sales. It's just that it takes a lot of time to manage them.
And in some ways, technology is somewhat instrumental also, I think, to the growth, what we're able to do as Latino businesses, because we don't often start off with access to large amounts of capital that we can get our storefront, hire 5 employees, put an ad in the local paper, and go from there.
We do everything.
We have to start off with these means that are freely accessible to us to get the word out. So I mean, Chris, I know you basically operate almost in many ways as pop-up shops. Like
I exist almost entirely on the internet because ultimately, like, access to things like that. I mean, anywhere you live, any race, you're stuck because the cost of retail rent, hiring, like everything you just said, it's insane. It's so difficult to raise that capital. So it's just,
just a space.
Yeah.
No utilities, nothing else.
It's a matter of like changing the way that people approach like business structures, like traditional business structures. With the entrance fees that are required to get in, you really have to think outside the box.
Which I think one of the things that Latinos are very good at doing.
Yeah.
We've toured just the history of coming to new places, going out there, not fitting into a box in many ways. Because I think that the interesting thing about the Latino community is we don't fit into a box.
Oh, no, we're very creative.
There's so many different types. We all come from different countries with different backgrounds, different ways of speaking Spanish even. I mean, the difference, I'll never forget when it was in community college and we had an Argentine exchange student, and my Spanish that I knew was mostly from Cuban a little bit, and Colombian. My professor was Colombian, and the Argentine came, and I'm like, what language is he speaking? This is Spanish?
Right.
Because, I mean, even the language itself that unites us is spoken so differently.
Absolutely.
So we don't fit into a box well, and I think this in some ways culturally enables us to go out there and think in new ways that...
Yeah, we're just forced because of that, we're just our culture, right? And that's good, right?
Yes.
Being different is
Yeah.
good. Not being in that box where sometimes.
Oh no, imagine it would be boring.
Right.
No.
It would.
Yeah, get ideas from another Latino fellows and, and
Exactly.
Well, that's what I always say, because, people always say Hispanics, but it's not necessarily Hispanics. We're not just Latinos. Well, we have Nicaragua, we have Mexicans, we have Colombians, we have Cubans, we have Puerto Ricans, right? So, I mean, the culture, there are some similarities. Language is one of them, right? Obviously, there's accent sometimes, but the cultures are all somewhat different, right? They all bring something else to the table, but the thing is that you can share that, right? And listen, I mean, this country was built on immigrants coming in and sharing their culture. I mean, you walk around here and you got 10 different types of restaurants, right? And you go to New York and you got 600 different type of restaurants, right? So every single culture is celebrated. And I think that's the beauty in the Latino community. The language is the common area, right? But everything else is different. And as Lizmarie said, you learn from everybody else, and it's easy to learn because you speak the same language, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to ask, so just obviously Latinas, in addition to obviously starting businesses, there's a giving back aspect because there's a lot of purchasing power. Another little cool thing which I didn't even know, they did a study and they benchmarked it off of, I think it was, oh wow. So they did a study of Latinas in the country, and they found that Latinas, so not just Latinos in general, but Latinas in particular, influence $2 trillion worth of purchasing power. Which would make them the 8th largest economy in the world.
That's incredible.
Bigger than the economy of Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, and Peru.
Wow.
Wow, that's insane.
So, I mean, what are the ways that you Latinas see the Latina community as it grows and as this entrepreneurship grows, giving back and influencing? What are some of the ways that you see yourselves or other Latinas influencing the community at large, either business-wise or just economically?
You'd like to tap into 1% of that, right? 1%
I wish I could, right?
Just 1%, that's all.
Wow. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I don't know. That's an interesting question. I don't know. I think it goes again back to that to the fact that you are, as head of Latina mothers, head of household, and making decisions. Right? You're just making decisions because you just are a go-getter and have to go and just make decisions for the family, or sometimes even for other people, or that communication too, right? That so and so, it's great, you should try it, and then that line of word of mouth marketing starts going on, and you're like, everybody's buying already because so and so told me to, right? Or a good recommendation. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I think it comes from that. What we are and who we are in our households, right? That decision makers, and although I dislike decision making a lot, but we tend to be. So I think that influences a lot on what we purchase, and that's why I think we can hold that type of power, right? Combined, yeah. But.
I remember one of our guests, Miguel Cardin, he said something very interesting when we had him here, and he said, when you have your own business, right, you don't think about what money you're going to make. You think about the passion you have and what you do for your business. And I think that because you look at all the businesses and say, wow, that's $1 trillion worth of
2 trillion.
2 trillion, right? Mm-hmm. But the issue is not, you don't start a business saying, I'm going to be part of that 2 trillion and make it grow. You start a business because of what you love to do. Mm-hmm. And when you love to do something like you do, right, then it just builds upon itself. Before you know it, you start making money, but you're not thinking about it, No. I mean, yes, you have to pay bills, but you're not thinking about it. You're thinking about, how do I sell my product? How do I improve my product? How do I expand, my marketing? And I assume that's the case.
And sometimes you you think, okay, I'm making this, and I put all my heart and soul here, and I want everybody to have it. So you start like, instead of profiting for it, you try to like make prices or something like they're like people can reach it, people can have it. I have people when I started at the market. I remember this lady went to me and she's like, "You're selling this too cheap. Your work is amazing. You need to like higher your prices now, but I want everybody to have it." And she's like, "Yeah, but you're wrong. You should. I know you want everybody to have it, but it's your work." And I remember when I started, I was like, I was just just counting just whatever I spend in materials, not my
Not your
hour,
time.
not my
Right,
time.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and those are things that you don't when you start, you don't know. It's
That's
part
right.
of the learning, and that's some of the things that you would like to have somebody to teach you that.
Sounds like you need the CIC class. No, we cover.
We
a lot
always
of
need
those
it.
things. We cover a lot of those things, and it common. And I wouldn't call them mistakes, but it's common to do that because you're starting your business, you want everybody to have it, and but you also have to think of yourself. Is this just a hobby and my passion, or can I really make it a profitable business for me,
Exactly.
right? So I'm glad that she approached you with that because it's that opened your eyes to you, I'm sure, and like, oh, well, you're right, I should be charging more. And sometimes we feel bad, right? That sort of guilt that hits some of us Latinos. I don't know why, what cultural, I feel like.
Because we love to give.
Right, we love to give. Yeah.
It's like when we are raised in big families and we are used to have the grandma cooking for 10, 11, 12, plus their partners and kids and grandchildren and everybody. So, and they don't mind spending time, hours, probably 24 hours cooking for a big family. So we're raised like that. It's like we want to give. We want like what we do. We want everybody to have it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's always good to keep that in mind, but also it's a fine line when you are a business owner.
I learned the hard way.
So
The cost of labor.
Exactly. Well, Chris, as a baker, I'm curious, like, how do you sort of navigate that line? Because I know, like, when I baked at home, I mean, you just want to sort of eat it or like give it away to people. Like, so how do you like navigate the line?
couldn't be a baker.
Knowing how much you're worth
Yeah.
as someone who produces something that people just would love to just eat and be like, yeah, how many can I get of these cookies?
I mean, the biggest thing, I'll just go from a cost perspective and then the intersection of price and then also customer, the same kind of concept of wanting people to have access. Basically, knowing your costs and then knowing, like, I definitely get paid. I pay myself less than minimum wage at this point, but that's just how it goes. I'm probably about almost 2 years in, but ultimately, like, I've only been doing this full time for the past month. So, ultimately, pricing your stuff and pricing your labor and then making it approachable for people. If you're pricing your labor very high and then, like, which is ultimately probably what you're worth, but then people can't afford to buy your goods, and so you need to have your volume in order to hit that same price thing. Details. At the end of the day, the best example that I have for this is I did like a plated dessert for the most recent tea market that happened on Halloween, and ultimately, yes, you could go to a tasting menu and you could have this plated dessert and you could experience Mignon D's, like, a plum rosé pâte à fouille. And you could spend probably around $200, wine pairing $300, it goes up and up and up depending on where you're at. To be able to take my skill set and make it profitable, like it was at $6, I know my food cost is around 25-30%. I was able to make a profit, pay myself, and ultimately, like, give people access to things that they would have to spend so much money to get access to. And the marketing is a great component of that to to do the value, but it's also like the complexity of dessert and all of that is also part of what continues to build the brand. If that makes sense. That went in circles, but it's an answer.
No, it makes total sense because I think we do. I think there's sort of a notion that as entrepreneurs, I think we intuitively sort of have to teach ourselves to remember that profit isn't like this dirty thing that's undeserved. Like, oh, I made a profit. That just means that I cheated someone because I sold this and it was worth more than what I paid for it. So no, profit is, and what I always go back to my Economics 101, a profit equals value added.
Right.
So you are taking a bunch of ingredients that by themselves, someone might look at it and say, well, what do I do with this? What do I do with the sugar, the flour, the different flavors that you have? Because I know sometimes you've got like very interesting ingredients. And they would sit there and say, what do I do with this? Well, you're combining and putting them all together in a way that no one else can.
And that combination is also a product of bartering. Like the pawpaw butter that I got, I traded a box of pastries for 2 things of pawpaw. So it's like, through like this whole thing with trading is I'm able to take the capital that I invest in my ingredients to multiply it with the value of my labor and then trade it for something that I value in order to give people a more approachable price for them to purchase it, because pawpaws you can only forage. So if you want like a case of pawpaws for your restaurant, you're gonna spend an arm and a leg.
Right.
But I traded a $20 value box of pastries. Once again, food costs at 25%. I'm able to give people access to something for a price that works for both of us.
Exactly, because it's the value that you're putting into it, which you need to be compensated for, because you've increased someone else's value by providing that to them. And I know that a lot of times entrepreneurs, like the number one thing, even as Latinos, that we sometimes have to get towards is understanding, no, I have to incorporate my value
Absolutely.
into what I'm doing.
We don't think about it. Yeah, naturally. So, we don't think about it, but yeah, you really have to put that in. And I think that also, sends the message to those buying it from you that you value what you're doing. You're taking your labor very serious. And people respect that, right? People who there are going to be those that are not willing to pay for what you have, and that's fine. You don't have to sell to everybody, right? There is a market for everything out there, but and for everyone. But yeah, I think it's a very internal thing, and also a thing that you really have to see it in paper too, in numbers to believe it internally, and then flesh it out with numbers. So yeah.
And I think you need to look at value in 2 ways too. There's a value that comes with, experience. Somebody may have a lot of knowledge in a particular area that there's just no way you can ever catch up to that. But then there's the labor value, right? So in other words, when you're making a cake, right, or you're making your jewelry, right, what you have to think about is that person that's buying your product, he or she did not have to spend that 1 hour, 2 hours, creating that product. That's basically 2 hours that they may be working and making money, right? So, so basically it's your labor saving them time, right? Whether it be time for pleasure or time because they're working. So you have to think of it that way. In other words, my labor is because I am now saving somebody else the trouble of doing this, right? So it's not only the fact that you're able to take that product and create something beautiful or good, but your time is also saving somebody else from doing that. So again, that value comes in 2 ways, right? For some services, it's just, you go to a doctor and you say, I can't study medicine, for 10 years to figure out what's wrong with me, right? So there's a value there. And in this case, there's a value because, you're doing something that's labor intensive that somebody else just doesn't have the time. So you have to charge for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, we got some more comments coming in. Bashir Kalafa, so he's the owner of Bashir's Taverna, that was down here at the downtown mall. He said when he was in the Bronx, he was developing an entrepreneurial model for disenfranchised segments of the population, and he learned one thing about Latino women: they are extremely motivated and had an incredible practical drive to succeed. Is what he learned from.
Yeah,
his
we're very
experience
practical.
That's true.
We are.
It's gotta work.
We just make things in the best ways possible. So we're absolutely practical. Yeah.
Which matches beautifully with entrepreneurship, because one of the things of being a small business owner is things are going to not go as planned, and the question is, can you make things work?
Right, exactly.
When your business plan doesn't, like real life doesn't play out exactly as the plan looked at the beginning.
Exactly, thinking right on your feet and making things work. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Oh, Bashir. Yeah, know him.
So he was sharing that with us. Bob Sacramano says Carolina is the best.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Another fan, and then Lizmarie, I think your is this Cristina Dominguez?
My
watching
sister.
Your sister from San Antonio. So
Hi,
she's proud of her sister, Lizmarie, and these amazing and powerful women.
Oh, thank you, baby. She's our baby sister from 6.
Proud of 6?
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you mean the sixth child?
She's the 6th.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Oh, awesome. Yeah.
The baby of the family.
Was there a mix there of boys and girls or all girls?
Just one boy.
Oh, wow.
He's the king.
Both fathers.
He's the king of the house.
Oh, but goodness. So, I mean, definitely one thing I wanted to ask in terms, and we touched on this a little bit earlier. What are some of the things you're seeing among the Latino community, among either support that's needed or things that you'd like to see, like, get out of the way? Things that, like, if only this wasn't here, this would...
Right. Paperwork. So what do you mean? Like things that as a
obstacles that you're seeing that you
obstacles.
wish were removed, or support that you're saying, this support would be great to see for either me as an entrepreneur or Latina entrepreneurs in general.
Yeah, for me, well, in my capacity here as a professional in Charlottesville, working with entrepreneurs, for me, I wish I could see more male or female professionals coming together to assist our business or our entrepreneur community. And I say this because with CIC, we have access to resources of wonderful professionals that do pro bono work, but the language is a barrier. And I just wish that I could, we could have more professionals that are aware, and not necessarily specific with something, but that just know how to navigate the system, so we can assist more those that, because of the language barrier, don't know how to open, a business bank account, or don't know how to have a business license, or how do I do marketing, and I feel like I of course don't have all the skills and knowledge needed, but what I can help. But the volume is high, right? I cannot, I feel like I can't do it all. So I just wish I could see more of that in the Charlottesville community and surrounding counties, just to get together and have Spanish speakers that are willing to assist, pro bono, and I would like more of that. And in the industry that I am, with the work that I do,
That will be very helpful.
Yeah.
Because when I started, I had to I was on my own practically. I had to search for everything. Okay, first of all, a name. I know a name is just me, but then I have to look that nobody has that name. Okay, how I register that name, how do I get a permit from the city to sell, or from the state to sell in the state? How do I get the tax ID number? How do I get, there's so many things, and I didn't know about any of the programs, and I had to search for myself. And I made a few mistakes with money, like paying money that I didn't have to pay to get access to something. And, I learned the hard way. And I'm really glad that there's a program now that for people who are starting, because the beginning is very rocky.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to have Theo Harvey, and then also Middle Harvey, because there's also a Little Harvey of the Guajiros, right? But it's like when I moved here and was like, okay, I want to do this, he was like, well, you need an LLC, and I was like, all right. And so I got all these little pushes from them in that incubator of a space almost. It was incredible and a huge privilege. So grateful. Seriously.
It is. It's what you were talking about before about, I think, entrepreneurs who are already currently helping each other instead of just outsourcing everything to, just go ask the state.
Yeah.
Or
go take a course.
an
online, not a nonprofit.
Go call Charlottesville
Yeah.
office and ask them how to do a business license. You call, you're never going to find out how to do a business license.
No, it's overwhelming at the beginning. It's very overwhelming.
There's so many entrepreneurs selling courses. I wanted to elaborate because nonprofit is very different. There's so many entrepreneurs selling courses for so much money
Oh, right,
to teach
right.
people how
Yeah.
to like run a business, and I'm sure people are scammed essentially all the time. Like
Yeah.
it's insane. So it's
Yeah,
like resources like that,
absolutely.
resources like my Theo, like.
You know, these are online things that you're like, does it even apply to me, to my region, to what I really need at where my small size business, right? So, I just think that I'm super grateful to be working for CIC because I have learned so much. Like, I am not an entrepreneur. My parents were entrepreneurs when they were in Mexico City. I just think it's a work of a lot of love and passion to be an entrepreneur. I don't think I am made for that, but I am glad to be assisting and working with entrepreneurs. And yeah, I absolutely recommend the CIC class to anybody. And like I said, even if you're a Spanish speaker, si hablan español pero quieren tomar la clase, anímense, háganlo. Mientras tengan un conocimiento básico del inglés, lo van a poder hacer muy bien. Y yo siempre estoy disponible para ayudar con las tareas que se dan o con cualquier pregunta, pero háganlo porque es un recurso tremendo, la verdad, y les abre las puertas a muchas cosas más, hacer un poquito de más networking, conocer al resto de la comunidad latina también y anglo, y acceso al capital, préstamos si necesitan, acceso a un mentor, pero la clase es el punto principal con lo que trabajamos nosotros, porque ahí les damos lo que son las bases para el conocimiento y saber cómo llevar el negocio. Pero soy la única persona que habla español en la oficina y con gusto los ayudamos en lo que necesiten y ya.
Sí,
Sí.
Bien dicho.
Sí, yo no puedo decirlo mejor.
I just took a moment for the Spanish-speaking audience because I
Absolutely.
do want to. It's difficult to come up with a Spanish class just like the one that we have in English. Because of what I mentioned, that it's difficult to have those volunteers that support the class. That it takes a lot that goes in to run something like this.
Some of the jargon, like the business terminology, is in English.
Yeah.
So there's an advantage to learning it.
Right.
Even if you speak Spanish and saying, okay, now I know what these terms mean in English.
Right.
So if I encounter them in a bank or in another organization, I'm like, okay,
Right.
I know what this is. I know what's going on here because I can at least understand how that works.
Absolutely. No, yeah, I agree.
So
David?
are the classes? So the classes are not just for people who are starting or thinking on starting a business.
No. For
who
people that
have-
already have the business but are looking to grow, to reflect back on how you're currently running your business, and is this the best way for me to be running the business? We challenge you. Well, I don't personally work in the workshop, but
You're not personally challenging
I am not but my colleague that runs that program and all the volunteers that we bring, you are challenged in the class. It's not a light course. I think that's where you get the value from. That even if you're already running a business, you get challenged and placed in that position of maybe I need to rethink my strategy, my structure, and then move from there. We want you to grow. If you're already an existing business, want you to grow to that next level that you want to see yourself into. Or if you are just coming with an idea, we want you to explore that idea, flesh it out. Does this really make sense for you? Do you really see yourself doing this full time? Does it really make you money, leave you money, right? That profit that we spoke about, or realize that this is just a hobby for you and that it really does not going to leave you any profit, right? So either way, whether the outcome of growing and actually making your business, or the outcome of realizing that this is not a real, something that would leave you money, the class helps
something
with
helpful.
that. So.
Well, sometimes I know people will go into the class with one business and come out with another. They'll be in there and be like, the thing I thought I wanted to do, that actually won't make me money, but this thing that I thought was just a hobby is in fact a business that people will. Because I know Shannon and some of those in the class will ask people like, "You're making." We had one. I think Kate Purnell was a swim teacher. She said she had gone through that class.
Oh, really?
And I
Kate,
think it
right,
was
Kate Brennan.
Kate and
Yes.
Shannon had said to her,
Yeah.
you know, you're making a lot of money teaching these swim lessons. She said, no, but that's like a hobby. He's like, it looks like a business.
Right,
And then
right.
she's like, yeah, it is a business in reality.
Exactly. Yeah,
And it's
people, you know, you realize that maybe, you know, this is the idea you came with is really not going to work. But then the other idea that you didn't even explore before is like, well, this is the moneymaker. But also have to understand that, can you really be doing that full time or part time? Do you really see yourself, even though that's the money maker, can you really see yourself? Otherwise it's gonna be just, you know, overwhelming, and at some point you're just gonna crash. But yeah, so it's a high intensity course for sure. I absolutely recommend it to anybody that already has a clear idea of what they want to do. Or somebody that has a business already and they are just looking to grow. Either way, we push you and we challenge you. And there's a high level of commitment that we look for. So, yeah.
So it's a powerful thing. It's
Yeah.
powerful. We got one more. We got David Trejo. I think he's related to you. He says, I'm proud of you, prima.
Oh, gracias. Sí, mi primo.
Sí, un
Gracias.
primo. Before we let you go, man, we've already been here for an hour, imagine.
Oh, wow. It doesn't feel like.
It doesn't feel like it. Before we let you go, one thing I wanted to give the opportunity, any last words of encouragement or advice that you would have for Latinos or Latinas in particular that are like, all right, I have this idea or that I want to pursue, any encouragement or advice that you would give to them?
Well, we know what Carolina's going to say.
We know what Catalina's going to say.
Right.
Ooh, okay. Stay as organized as humanly possible. Like, yeah. Excel is your friend. Like, it's true.
Excel spreadsheets are your
Spreadsheets.
friends.
And I started with QuickBooks
Good.
immediately as soon as I started my business. So everything is like in the QuickBooks online format. So like all receipts, everything. It's, if you're familiar with the internet, then it's pretty easy to like understand. And that way, like, everything is logged as you go. Just do everything as you go. Stay organized.
Good point.
That's a great one.
I'm a more old school.
What's the-
I said
When I make a purchase, they send me the invoice and I just save it in my computer. And then at the end of the year, I just take everything and do the.
But you have it recorded.
You have it though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have
That's what I
everything.
mean. So many people don't have it, so they
Yeah.
can't even tell you what their profit and loss is. 'Cause
Oh
they
no,
have
I
it
save
tracked.
everything. I save all my receipts, everything. If not, my accountant killed me.
AKA your husband.
Where this my husband? Where this came from? No.
He's your first employee.
yeah.
Not paid, probably.
Yeah.
Right?
But like I said in the first time I was here, just if you have the idea, just start working on it. Like Chris said, take notes of everything, of the ideas that you want. Take advantage of all the programs that the city offer. Like I said, when I started, I didn't know about any of those programs. There are so many programs now that you can like take advantage of, and just put it to work. Just put it to work. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
And you know that when I said that in the first show, I have his aunt, my husband's aunt. She called me because she's very talented and she makes a lot of stuff. And she called me and told me, you know what? When I saw you on the program, you gave me the like
Inspiration.
the inspiration to do, because she does so many things, and she started asking me things about Etsy, about different programs and all that. How can I start and all that? And we started talking a lot, and it was because of what I said. And I'm like, I'm glad. I think somebody got the
awesome.
message. But yeah, just do you have an idea? Just give it a go.
Sure.
Give it a go.
For me, I think what I would say to entrepreneurs and business owners is, our Latino ones are, follow the systems. Like, I know we are super eager to just jump in and go for it. And that's great, absolutely. That's the drive that we need to jump in, start on your own, yes. But when you're at that point of, I don't know how else can I make this work, find the resources and stick with them. we tend not to stick with things because they are time consuming. But we have to understand that systems are in place in this country, and they work for a reason. So just stick with the system, and you have no idea, it will really take you to point B, C, or D, wherever you want to grow. But you have to follow the system. Sometimes it's not a quick jump from one to another. And there's a lot of work involved. And like I said, identify the resources that you will need and stick with them, and you will succeed. But that patience that sometimes we tend not to have, because we know we are active. We want to go out there and just do. And when we get to that point of like, I don't know where to go from here, that's where the patience has to come in and just say, okay, I'll stay with what I know I really need to. Yeah.
Especially if you believe in, at that point that it's a business model that works for you.
Yeah.
To have that, because like you said, you're 2 years in, and I know when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes 2-3 years in, you're sitting there saying, I'm still making less than minimum wage. But to say, I believe in this, I know this works, I know I'm on the right track, I have the resources, I have to persevere. I can't just try to jump. Don't try to jump ship too early. Because sometimes we have that impatience, but it does work, right?
Yeah.
The entrepreneurship does work. In the end, that small business power is there, and so when we persevere, we get through it. And then at the other side, when we get to that B, we're like, oh yes, it does. I actually have made it, and because I stuck with it. I didn't just try to jump around and say, what do I do now?
Absolutely,
Stick with it.
Especially when you start, at least for me, when I started using Etsy, not promoting or anything, but they do everything for you. And that's when you see that most of your profit is going to paying to them, and you said, okay, no, I want to be by myself. That's when the challenge starts, because when you're in those kind of programs, you're like, I'm just creating. That's all I need to worry about, to create. Create, take picture, post. That's it, and sell. And they take care of everything else, taxes, everything. You don't have to charge taxes because they take care of that. But when you are by yourself, like, there's where now how I do this. And that's where those programs are very, like, we need that. We need more of that.
Right. And sticking to a system once you identify.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're creating your own system instead of paying Etsy to do everything for
your
you.
system and follow it.
Yeah. And in a way, the restaurant world is kind of the same. You're a chef, you're working at a restaurant, you don't have to pay the overhead to run this restaurant, to get your creative stuff out there. Then you go on your own, you're like, well, this is the whole thing. But then you have that freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
In some ways, you're trading, and it's funny because Bashir just wrote that he said, bear in mind you have to work harder than your counterpart and don't look back. And in some ways, it's true. Like what we're trading as entrepreneurs is we're trading more work, like hard work, for freedom. Because we're going to work harder and have to do a lot more behind the scenes than if we were working in someone else's business. But we receive that creative freedom.
Exactly. We don't mind because it's for us. We're working for us.
Yeah.
Love it. I can't think of a better way to end that. Oh, love it. Thank you all three so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Found real easy. So City Market, Healing Moon Company, Lizmarie Zambrana. Find BakerNoBakery on Instagram, really easy, at BakerNoBakery1.
And I'm actually now consistently at the City Market until the end of the holidays.
Oh, nice.
Until the end of the holidays. You can always find Chris at the City Market, and then Carolina at CICville.org.
Right, Carolina at CICville.org, that's my email, or just look up CIC and you'll have access to all the programs that we offer. And we are currently accepting applications for the program, which starts February of 2022, that entrepreneur workshop. So it's a great time if you want to speak to me in Spanish, si necesitan ayuda y para que les comente de todo lo que tiene la clase. Solo marquen al número que cuando busquen CIC ahí va a aparecer un número y yo con gusto les contesto, pero it's a great resource for sure.
Awesome. Love it. This has just been really fantastic.
Yeah, it's been great
to have the three of you. Just want to quickly mention next week, because we do have a show next week as well. We're here every week. We're here every week, just in case you forgot. We got some more. We got 3 artists who are going to be coming on next week. 2 to 3 artists, I should say. Bob Aller, so he is the artist who painted when we had on Mission Charlottesville with the paintings of Cuba. He is the artist who painted, who was down to Cuba and painted what Cuba looks like now. Just the people there, their faces, the amazing community that they have there. And so he's going to be on to talk about his work, as well as Tina Curtis, who runs Gallery Pomona, also at the City Market, I believe.
Nice.
So she is going to be on with us next week. So it's going to be a blast. We're always grateful to be on the I Love CVille set. Really appreciate Judah behind the scenes. He did a lot of work today to make sure that the round table
That we look pretty
was possible. Exactly. He makes us all look good. I mean, well, you 3 always look good, but he makes us look good.
There's a challenge here.
There's a challenge here. That's easy. He's like, just turn on the camera. Here he's like, I gotta make these 2 guys look okay. And just really appreciate the work that goes in there. Really appreciate our sponsors, Emergent Financial Services. We got also sponsored by Vitae Spirits, by CVille Picnic. We're always working with for Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Just really appreciate our guests. Still getting comments. Thank you all, everyone who liked and shared the show. Johnny Ornelas shared the show. Carolina Obando shared the show. Cristina Dominguez says, what a great informative interview. Thank you. Thanks for watching, Cristina. Thanks for watching, Hilda Carrero Roman.
That's my mom.
Viendo el video, estoy muy orgullosa de mi hija Lizmarie. So just thank you, everyone who commented today, who spoke. Just really appreciate the audience feedback today. Just
Absolutely. It was wonderful.
It's wonderful because it's just, that's what it's all about, just encouraging each other and making those great connections with the audience, with our entrepreneurs, our Latino roundtable here. So just really appreciate you all for joining us, and it just has been a fantastic time on the show. One of my favorite ones, to be sure. One of my favorite
so
ones.
honored. Thank you.
One of my favorites. Just love you all so much. Love this opportunity. And just until next week, can't even wait till next week now. But until that time, we will see you. Hasta mañana.